Revelation 1859. From the 23rd of March 1941. Knowledge. Truth. God protects from error. Standing in realization, the human being does not need any assurance of the credibility of what is imparted to him from above, for simultaneously with the divine gift he receives the ability to clearly judge what is truth and what is a lie. For he is set a task to pass on what he receives. And in order to be able to do this with full conviction, he himself must be deeply believing, he must not have any doubts about the truthfulness of what he has received. However, the prerequisite is always that he himself longs for the pure truth. If a person wants to give, he will also receive. And only that which is represented with all conviction will also be accepted as truth. Since it is God's will that truth should find its way into people's lives, he requires servants devoted to him who spread the divine word. And thus, he equips them with the power of realization so that they can receive what is commanded to them as spiritual property and then also use it towards their fellow human beings. And these people will no longer be able to spread anything but truth. They will always clearly feel what does not agree with the pure truth and reject it, as well as on the other hand they will defend the pure truth against all opposing attacks. The assumption that a person can err if he declares himself willing to pass on the truth to his fellow human being is erroneous. God's omnipotence comes into action by preventing every false statement as soon as the human being wants to work for God. God's omnipotence expresses itself in such a way that the human being will only speak and pass on what corresponds to the truth, thus he is, so to speak, prevented from speaking things which are still beyond his knowledge. And if he is determined by people to speak about it, then he will freely admit that he is not yet informed of it and thus refrain from any judgment about it. Thus the human being will only want to pass on what he himself has accepted as truth and recognizes as such. He will be knowledgeable, not knowledgeable. He will be knowledgeable but not want to appear knowledgeable where God has not yet granted him full insight. There are areas which the human being cannot pass through so quickly, which remain an unknown land to him for a long time, and that is until the spirit in the human being succeeds in detaching itself from the body without any inhibition, until the human being has become even more receptive in order to be able to receive completely new wisdom from him, which requires a state of complete detachment from earth. And until this state occurs, the human being can hardly be instructed about things which are beyond his knowledge. But the human being will refrain from judging for just as long, because in his love of truth he does not want to pass on anything which is still unclear to him. For if God chooses a person to proclaim his word, he will also protect him from spreading something untrue, and he will give him the power of knowledge to the same extent as he desires the truth. Amen.